Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal and we are discussing the scope of robustness of Gift City, and especially after the momentum that has been provided by the government measures, especially during the union budget. Now, we were discussing what are the benefits of IFSC and how it has been made attractive by the authority as well as the government. Rajeev, help us understand, are you as one of the fund management entities able to benefit from all the tax benefits that have been provided under IFSCA, or are there some structuring as well as layering aspects that still need to be sorted for?
No, I think most of the tax benefits that have already come in, yes, most of them will be of benefit to us and to investors as well. Layering, as I said earlier, if the SPV structure really comes in, that will help us a lot in terms of structuring, leveraging, co-investment structures. Instead of putting it in the same fund, we can actually create a vehicle where we can do co-investment structures. So a lot of things that are in the pipeline at the gift end will definitely end up helping us in the future. One of the things that, we missed out in this budget, and since you're talking about a lot of things that came in the budget, one expectation that we had as an industry and one of the asks that was there from the industry was unified taxation for all categories, which hasn't really come in. So if that comes in, then life is going to be much, much smoother going forward.
All right, so that is the big ask, and more clarity on the structuring will emerge over time. Alok, Mehta, what else can be done? Are there any roadblocks in fully benefiting from this opportunity, according to you?
There has been great regulatory intent and effort so far.
Right.
IFSC was notified in 2015. It is only now that we are seeing all this action happen. At the same time, the gaps that we see are essentially around coordination with various laws. For example, this entire issue of relocation of funds, or rather redomiciling of funds to India. Now, there are tax provisions which are still a bit ambiguous on how these kind of transfers would be taxed in hands of the managers.
Yes.
For that matter, in case of non-residents.
Yes.
Right. So there is a lot of on-ground coordination between various regulators, various ministries, which would definitely help in making the regulation more effective.
Yes. So that's exactly what union budget seemed to provide for also, Alok. So Kalpesh, jump in on this one. The single window clearance, and right after the budget, I had interviewed Injeti Srinivas of IFSCA, and he stated that in less than 6 months, a single window clearance will be done, where all the regulators, approvals will be sought through one window. How will it really work out, and how optimistic are you of this really bringing in ease of that transfer of assets from offshore accounts?
Yeah, I think yes, it needs to be tested, frankly. But knowing at the speed what IFSC has worked on various regulations and set up related issues, I'm very optimistic that this would be a success. In fact, they've been discussing this with various associations and on how to integrate all this, including various issues at each regulator level, how needs to be taken care. So, they have been integrating they will be integrating this with some robust IT systems as well with various regulators. So it still could be about 6 months away to have this final single window clearance in place. My sense is that, but I'm very optimistic that this will work out well.
And what about acquisition financing? Any of you looking at that particular aspect in a big way, or some of the other products as well that have been brought about in the budget in the last few years? Rajeev, any word on that, the future of opportunities that could be expected from you?
So obviously it sets us thinking about how we can actually use this, because domestically acquisition financing is not permitted. So obviously we have started thinking of how to actually use this particular facility. Of course, we'll wait for the fine print to come in. But yes, this gives us a window of opportunity for setting up another kind of a strategy that can be used to, set up a fund.
Right. And what are you hearing, Alok, from the other industry members? Are they looking at setting up shop over here at IFSC, and what's holding them back? What's the consensus that is building up? And after this union budget, do you think anything has changed?
Interestingly, we have had like two of our large institutional investors
Right.
have conversations understanding more about setting up in IFSCA, the pros and cons around various other jurisdictions. I would say they are in a stage between, I mean, they've crossed the stage of curiosity. They are yet to reach the stage of serious interest. They're somewhere in between. But there is a lot of interest which is there. People are actually evaluating these options. The union budget, and even prior to the budget, there have been a lot of simplifications, lots of new initiatives which IFSCA came out with. For example, setting up a separate, regulation for family offices who set up structures in GIFT. That could be a great source of private capital for flowing into India via GIFT.
Right.
So there is definitely interest, and that momentum should pick up now.
Right. The momentum should pick up. But Kalpesh, do you think the single window clearance, timeline-wise, will give competition to other jurisdictions in ease of getting approvals and setting up shop here?
I think, first of all, for any investment which has to come to India, I feel this is the best location to be in. Single window clearance more is for setting up the fund. I think without even single window clearance as of now, the process has been pretty streamlined between various regulators. It will only become easier. So competition-wise, I would feel IFSC is much ahead vis-a-vis other jurisdiction now for if the money has to come to India. So I don't see impact of that vis-a-vis any other jurisdiction. But more importantly, I think what also is important when you do a comparison of various jurisdictions, the policies which have been implemented, everyone just has a worry that whether that doesn't change or it doesn't go back to something else and creates an issue.
Yes.
Which is the worry which a lot of investors have when they evaluate this location. So while a lot of confidence has been given by the authorities that at least from their intent and discussions. But this is always there as a back of mind that is there any issues which could have at a later stage, because we would run a fund for 10 years, and if anything happens in last 3 years, then our returns actually could get impacted. So that's a worry which would be there, and that's where I think we may lose out certain marks on vis-a-vis the other jurisdictions.
All right, well pointed out actually, Kalpesh, because, policy flip-flop has been one of the biggest concerns for investors into India or India setup platforms like IFSC. Rajeev, what do you think? Can this be addressed? Because it's more of a perception issue. But then time and again, our government has also come up with regulations like we are seeing currently in the REITs in which side, where budget had thrown a tax proposal, which actually changes the dynamics of returns. So when you invest, you bake in a certain kind of return, and investors always say that we would rather bake in a higher index of taxation rather than go into it blindfolded and deal with flip-flop in the policy. How to address this particular issue, and is this one of the single largest issues which is a roadblock in the IFSC becoming a much more robust platform?
I'll start on the reverse end. If you look at what do we get in Singapore versus India, I think almost everything that you will probably get in Singapore, be it now good infrastructure, regulatory, easy regulations, clarity on taxation, leverage, you name it, and you've got it. The single biggest factor that may technically end up taking as far as if a foreign investor is concerned, his single biggest concern always is about stability of tax and other regulations. Now, if you ask me what can be done, I don't have an answer, to be honest. But the issue is that we've created history in various in the past about making changes retrospectively. even if that can stop, if you look at the Vodafone case as well, now that obviously sets in a lot of fear in the minds of investors. Now it is up to the government to kind of come out with clarity and give a confirmation or an assurance or a guarantee that whatever is being done will never undergo a change. And that has to be only proven by actions.
Right.
Only words will not help.
All right. So trust deficit on the policy flip-flop front is one of those perception issues that the government as well as IFSCA probably needs to really address to make IFSC a much more robust platform. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Big Deal. Thank you so much, Rajeev, Alok, as well as Kalpesh for joining us with your insights on this special edition on IFSC and how robust can it get. Thanks to all our viewers for tuning in. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18.